Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. Can you guys believe that we are less than a week away from April? I feel like all I talked about in January was like, this is the longest month of my life. And the universe was like, oh, you want to talk about a long month? February and March are going to fly by faster than you can even imagine. And now we are literally less than 7 days away from April 1st, which feels insane. I only have 2 episodes left in my 20s, including this one. Like this week and next week are the last podcast episodes I will ever record in my 20s. And then I turn the big 3-0. That is crazy to think about, but regardless, that's not what we're here to do. I hope you guys are having a fabulous week, as always, like I said, and I have to admit, I'm kind of in my movie era, like I'm kind of cultured. I saw 2 movies this weekend. I know, he's crazy, and I signed up for AMC A-List. I think I told you guys that. I signed up like a month ago, and I finally went to see my first movie. I saw Opus over the weekend, which we'll talk about in just a second, but I do have to say, going to AMC as an AMC A-lister, I felt so premium and so exclusive. Like walking into that theater and scanning my ticket, knowing it was my first time using my AMC A-list, I was like, oh, bitch, they're going to roll out a red carpet for me. And they all know that it is my first time as an A-lister. It felt so fabulous. I mean, nobody even said a single word about it, but just internally, it just inside, I was like, I'm the most important person in this entire movie theater. But like I said, I went to go see Opus over the weekend, which is that new A24 movie starring Iowa Debris, and it was fucking crazy. It was so twisted. It follows this group of journalists who get invited to this compound that this pop star lives at, and he's kind of been like under the radar for I think it was like 20 or 30 years, and he's making his big comeback, and he invites these media people to this compound to like hear the album for the first time. It's supposed to be like this really exclusive listening event, and he like hand selected these people, and they get there and they go to the spa. They have, it looks like this like retreat kind of thing, but this guy's you could tell he's like very weird, very out there. Like I said, he hasn't been seen in like 30 years, and this is his like comeback to music. And as they're staying in this retreat, they realize that like he's pretty much leading a cult, and it just takes the craziest twists and turns. And like the twists and turns are coming slowly at you, and then out of nowhere, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's a specific scene where shit just hits the fan, and it gets crazy out of nowhere. Like there's little pieces that like lead up to like, all right, something weird is happening within this compound, like whatever's going on. And then shit just hits the fan so fast, and it takes the craziest turn. It's getting like kind of not the best reviews online. I liked it. I mean, it wasn't like life-changing. It wasn't like the best movie I've ever seen in my life, but I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting and had it was a kind of a cool take on like media and how, journalists and interviewers and paparazzi treat these pop stars and kind of like getting revenge on them almost. I won't give too much away, but it was very sick, very twisted. Definitely a little gory, which you guys, if you've been listening for a while, that's like not my vibe. So I definitely covered my eyes at some parts of it because I was like, I am not watching that. But it was like, it wasn't scary per se. It was just like, it was a thriller, so it definitely had me on the edge of my seat, but I enjoyed it. I liked it. Again, I'm kind of tired of like letting people online sway my process of like enjoying media. Like they're like, oh, this album is terrible, or this single, this movie, and then it's like, I think people just like to have something to complain about. I don't know. I enjoyed it. If you're into that kind of like thriller, kind of twisted cult kind of thing, check it out. I really liked it. And then, like I said, I saw 2 movies this weekend. The other one I actually got sent an early screener for. It's called Bob Trevino Likes It, and it was so good. It stars Barbie Ferreira, who is from Euphoria, and it is just like this coming of age, like dealing with healing your inner child and just like finding like the highs and lows and kind of the reality of like coming from a broken family and kind of trying to like mend what you can with your family. And it's like this true story of this girl. She's cut off from her dad and she's looking for a connection with him. So she goes on Facebook and she adds somebody with the same name as him. And then they end up forming this like beautiful friendship that both of them I don't think either of them realized how badly they needed each other. And then these two strangers just like formed this really nice bond. And it had like, I was laughing, I was crying, there were highs, there were lows. It definitely tugged on the heartstrings, but I think it really tackled like the reality of coming from a broken family and trying to heal that inner child. Like I said, it was really, really good. It actually just won 2 awards at South by Southwest. And I think it's won a total of 13 audience awards at all of the like film festivals that have been going on. So it's getting really well received by, you know, the important people in film, which is who we should really be taking our movie critiques from. And actually, the woman who directed and produced the movie is who the story is based off of. So it's like her true story coming to life on the big screen. So it kind of adds that extra little personal element to it. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It opened in theaters this Friday, March 28th in select cities. So if you go to their website, you can check out like what theaters is playing in. It was really good. I'm not going to say it was like a feel good movie. There were feel good moments in it, but it definitely, it tugged in your heartstrings. So grab your popcorn, grab your tissues, and go check out Bob Trevino Likes It, because I think you guys will enjoy it. And now that I've given you guys some movie recommendations, why don't we hop into some music recommendations with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week, and our new releases coming up this week. And now if you listened to last week's episode, I was saying the only release that was on my radar last week was the new Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco album. And I was saying how it's on my radar, but very loosely. Like I wasn't like anticipating it. It wasn't an album that I was like dying for. I was like, all right, cool. Like I'll listen to it. Benny Blanco has produced some of like the biggest hits of the early 2000s, like 2010s era. Selena will put out a bop here and there. And I like that Gracie Abrams song, Call Me When You Break Up. Like I like that track. I thought it was good. And I was like, if the rest of the album sounds like this, I can vibe with it. I'm not vibing with it, you guys. I really tried, and like I listened to it 2 or 3 times, and I was really trying to like get into it. And I was like, you know, you can't force it. And I'm not saying it's like bad, because music is subjective. So who am I to come on here and be like, this is a bad album? But it's not great. It wasn't for me. And sometimes I'll be like, you know what? Let me sit with an album. Let it grow on me a little bit. I don't think this is a grower. I think this is an album that I just have to be like, yep, not for me. It's for somebody else. And that is fine. I have so much music on my plate right now that I don't need another album. However, like I said, I do love Call Me When You Break Up. I think that song is so much fun. And I also love Bluest Flame, to no surprise though, because it is a scrapped Charlie XCX song. She wrote the song. Allegedly, it was supposed to be on Brat. It was supposed to be the opening track on Brat. That's just what I saw on Twitter, which take that with a grain of salt. I don't know how true that is, but it literally sounds like a Charlie XCX song because it is, and it would perfectly fit in the landscape of Brat, which makes sense as to why I love it. It is so good. I've had that one on repeat the last few days, like just like in my rotation. Loving Bluest Flame. However, the rest of the album is not making it into any playlist of mine for the rest of the year. I apologize to any Selenators out there, any Bad Bunny, Benny Blanco stands out there. Just not for me. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, I love that for you, but I'm not giving it the Too Pop to Handle stamp of approval. I apologize. Also, side note, I was going to make this a story in the rapid fire, but I was like, I can't waste more than 30 seconds of energy on it. So all I'm going to say about this is I am so tired of any time Selena Gomez or Hailey Bieber releases anything, there's a whole think piece and a 7-part TikTok and an expose YouTube video and all of this bullshit about how she's obsessed with her and she's with Justin and this like, when are we going to just leave these women alone on both sides of it? Whether or not, like, yeah, we're watching literally Hailey Bieber get exposed for essentially stalking her husband and now marrying him. And Selena Gomez is happily engaged. She is literally releasing music with her fiance. Honestly, all the press they have been doing is making me really like Benny Blanco a lot more than I did before. I'm like, I get why she's into him. He seems like a good guy. He seems nice. He seems level-headed. I was like, you know what? I get it. But any single time Selena Gomez releases music or Hailey Bieber releases a lip gloss, there's all of these think pieces about the two of them. And I am so tired of hearing about the two of them. I'm like, we need to cut this fucking story and we need to leave it be. Justin is married to Hailey. Selena's about to get married to Benny Blanco. Leave these people alone. Oh my God, it is insane insane the way people will just like not let go of this relationship. And that is all I'm saying on the matter. I cannot put any more energy into it. And that being said, let's hop into some new music coming up this week because there are some big ones. There's only two, but they pack quite the punch. First up, we have Kesha featuring T-Pain, Yippee-Ki-Yay. The fact that this is Kesha and T-Pain's first collab together feels wrong, but it feels so right that we're finally getting it. And this is another recession indicator. Like the two of them collabing, it's very much giving Devin the cataracts. Like this is such an indicator of a recession. And you know what? I'm going to take it. You guys know I loved Joyride. I thought it was so much fun when it came out last summer. And now that Kesha's releasing her music independently and she really has full reins of what she wants to do, I'm really excited to see where she goes with this direction. Very excited for this new single. It actually comes out, if you're listening to this on release day, it's already out. It comes out at 9 a.m. on Thursday, the 27th, that must be, yeah. But otherwise, it is out, so it's not on a Friday release, which still strange. I never understand why artists like don't just release on Fridays. Like, I don't know the advantage of releasing on a Thursday, but I don't think Kesha really cares about sales at this point. She's kind of just like doing whatever she wants, but very excited to see what Kesha and T-Pain have in store for us. And then we have a very highly anticipated deluxe album coming out this week. Ariana Grande, Eternal Sunshine Deluxe. If you've been listening for a while, you know Eternal Sunshine was my favorite album of 2024. So the fact that we're getting a deluxe version of it a year and change later, I am thrilled. I'm so excited for this movie she's putting out with it. Very excited to see her breathing some more life into this Eternal Sunshine era. And it kind of speaks to my message of last week's episode where I was saying, I love when a deluxe version just kind of continues the era and isn't just like a cash grab kind of thing. So very excited to see what is in store for these bonus tracks for this short film. We will chat all about it next week. Also, let me know if you guys would be interested in like an Eternal Sunshine deep dive episode. I did it obviously with Mayhem. I've done it a few of them now, so you guys know the drill. I go track by track, go through the lyrics. I've been wanting to do it, and it feels like with the deluxe version, it makes sense to do the whole album. But let me know if that's something you guys would want. Shoot me a DM, leave a comment on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you're listening. Let me know if you would like that. I can go track by track of the album. I have someone very special who would like to come on for it, so I think I might do it. We'll see. Let me know if that's something you guys would want because that can be arranged and I think it might be coming in the near future. But, you know, I'm just putting the feelers out. I'm not promising anything, but I'm just, you know, I'm testing the water. So you guys let me know and we'll take it from there. But those are all of our releases coming up this week. Very excited, very big ones. And that wraps up our Drew releases. And now before we hop into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, I want to remind you guys that it costs $0 to leave a 5-star rating. Leave me a review, leave me a rating. It really is the best way to support the show. I know you hear it from every podcast you listen to, but we wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't true. So go ahead if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leave me a 5-star rating. You guys know the drill. You guys are consuming content. You know how to support the content. So come through for your boy. Let's make Too Pop to Handle. That would honestly be the best birthday gift. Like I said, I'm turning 30 in a week and a half. But the best birthday gift you guys could give me is a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcast. Thank you in advance. That being said, let's hop into our pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some pop culture rapid fire. Now, this first story is one that I honestly didn't know that I needed, and I still don't know if I needed it, but I'm not mad about it. Chappell Roan was on Call Her Daddy this week, and those are just two worlds that I don't ever see meshing, you know, like, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just don't see Chappell and Alex Cooper like kikiing and kicking it off, but alas, they did the interview, they sat down and they chit-chatted, and Chappell doesn't give too much of an insight into her personal life. We all remember last year, she was like up in arms anytime anybody asked her anything personal, and she really put that guard up for herself. So when she gives us an interview, I think it's very vetted. You know, she's not somebody who's just going to take every single opportunity. I mean, she literally said, I believe it was either Rolling Stone or in that BBC One interview she did, she said she got offered so many opportunities last year, and she was really selective with the one that she took. So when she takes an interview or when she does a performance, it's something that she wants to do. So this was clearly something that she was willing to do and wanted to do. They opened up about her relationship a little bit. She said she's been dating somebody for about 6 months, and it's actually somebody that she dated before she blew up. So I guess they were on a break and they got back together. So she was saying how dating now is such a different game because she's so famous now and it was never like this. She also opened up about the fact that she's kind of put a guard up for herself, and now all of her celebrity friends, when they're around her, they don't expect people to come up to them because of Chappell, and she kind of built this force field, she was saying. She said that when they're with me, they're like, it's a force field around us. People to come up to me because I'm with you. And I'm just like, damn, baby, you say it too. You say, don't touch me, don't look at me, don't talk to me. I don't know who you are. And it's just kind of, it goes to show that like Chappell is kind of creating this lane for herself that is like not allowing people to access her the way that we access so many celebrities and kind of are willing to kind of overstep these boundaries. She's really shutting it down, which I do think is going to help her in the long run. And she touched on the idea of like people saying she's not thankful for her success. She was like, I'm not complaining about my success. I'm complaining about people coming up to me and asking for a photo when I'm out with my girlfriend or just like hanging out in Central Park. She's like, I just want to like live my life and do my things. She's so grateful for the success. It's what she'd worked for God, it's been like 10 years she'd been trying to make it big, and she finally did it. So she was really clear that like, I'm not bitching and moaning about the success that I've gotten because that's all I've ever wanted. I'm complaining about like the privacy invasion that comes with it and isn't normalized. And I've told you guys my stance on this. Like, I don't think it is normal to follow celebrities around and go talk to them at dinner when they're sitting down and eating. Like they're out to eat, they're doing their thing. Of course it comes with being a celebrity, but there's definitely a line that has been crossed, especially with pop girls and like stan culture. You know, it's a whole different ball game in that sense. So I think she's really setting the scene of how she wants to be treated. And I think she's somebody who's like, well, if you don't treat me the way I want to be treated, I'm just not going to keep doing this. Like, I think she's very okay with like cutting the ties when she needs to. She seems very secure in who she is, which is a good thing. Again, most people who come into this type of stardom, especially as fast as she did last year, they don't have like a good grasp or a head on their shoulders of what they want. And it kind of just hits them all at once. And they're just like, well, fuck, I guess we're doing this. So it really does seem like Chappell is really secure in what she wants and who she is. And she's not going to budge even as she continues his career. So like I said, this was an interview that I truly did not expect at all. But I'm not mad about it. It wasn't an interview that like changed my life. I wasn't like, oh my God, Chappell Roan is like opening up on all. I was like, well, yeah, these are things that like, some things were new, the relationship and stuff like that, but it wasn't like groundbreaking information, but it was a good interview. So if you're looking to get a little fix of Chappell while we're in between this single and the album, whatever she's doing with The Giver and whatnot, it was a nice little surprise for Miss Chappell. She really does keep us on her toes. The next moment from the week that was just too pop to handle, Dua Lipa surprised her Melbourne audience with no other than Troye Sivan. This is the definition of too pop to handle. So she kicked off the Radical Optimism tour last week in Australia as a whole new show than what she was doing in Asia last year. And this show looks so good. The stage, the lighting, her outfits, the choreo, it just looks unreal. And I'm assuming this is the tour that she's bringing to the US later this year. So we will see. It just looks fantastic. And she does a cover every night of an artist that is like native to that area. And on Saturday night, she performed Rush and brought out Troye. And the reason I say this is so too pop to handle is because my first introduction to Dua Lipa, and I know a lot of other people's first introduction to Dua Lipa, was her opening for Troye Sivan on the Suburbia tour in 2016, which, thinking about Dua Lipa opening for Troye Sivan, and this is no shade, but just like looking at the projections of their career and where they are now, the fact that Dua Lipa was opening for Troye is wild. And it's so crazy that like that's how I met her. It wasn't like I heard her on the radio. I was like, no, she was opening for Troye. And I remember watching her and I was like, this girl has something. Like, she's got something special. And I saved her album or her EP at the time, while I was like standing there in the crowd. Cause I was like, I like what she is. I'm buying what she is selling. And now she's Dua Lipa. So for Troye to come out on stage with her, it was just like a full circle, too pop to handle moment. I loved it. They performed Rush together, as I said. And then after they performed, Dua like walked down into the crowd at one point during the show. Her and Troye went down with a USB flash drive and gave it to a fan. They were like, this has the physical remix on it. Will you promise me you will leak this? And looking back at the Future Nostalgia era, that was 5 years ago now. So the fact that they've just been sitting on this collab for all of these years, and they're finally now not even releasing it. They're like, just go leak it, post it online. Like, it's past, it's done. I appreciate the fact that they didn't try to do it as like a cash grab. You know, they weren't like, let's make a moment of it and like release this as a single. Like, just go hand it to a fan, post it on Twitter, and let's get on with it. Loving this song. I don't even want to call it a single because it's like, not technically. Like I'm listening to it as an MP3 file that I downloaded from Twitter. Loving this remix, very fun. And I just think the two of them have such like a love and appreciation for each other. So I love this moment together. And I think it's really cool that Dua is doing this, where she's covering an artist from the city that she's performing in. I know the night after she brought out Vance Joy and they did a cover together, but she's doing this in like every city it appears. So very excited to see what she's doing. It's just like a fun little way to connect with the audience. But I love this moment. I love Troye. I love Dua. So I was like, this is too pop to handle. This is what this show is all about. Love this. Again, I think it's so cool when an artist is just like, go leak this. People find it anyway. Go post it online. Go have fun with it. And let's move on with this show. Next up, on the topic of concerts, Lady Gaga is not stepping off of our neck. She announced this morning that the Mayhem Ball is happening this year. I was not prepared for this tour to be coming this year. I really thought it was going to be a next summer thing. And I definitely was not expecting it to be an arena tour. However, I do think she's going to do arenas this year and then next year do a full-blown stadium tour, I think. I don't know, of course, like I'm not Lady Gaga, nor am I on her team, but I do think this is kind of fun and it's kind of like bringing her back to not her roots, because obviously performing at arenas is nobody's roots, but she hasn't done an arena tour since Art Pop, right? Since the Art Rave, and that was, 2014. Like she hasn't done an arena tour. Joanne was stadiums, like baseball stadiums. Saw her at Citi Field. Chromatica was full stadiums. So for her to go back to arenas is very interesting. And I don't think this is going to be like the end of the Mayhem Ball, but I think she just wanted to like give us something this year and kind of continue the hype. So she posted this morning and she said, I wasn't planning to tour this year after my shows in Singapore, but the incredible response to the new album inspired me to keep things going. It came together super quickly thanks to Arthur Fogle and the amazing team at Live Nation, who planned a global tour in just a few weeks. We chose arenas this time to give the opportunity to control the detail of the shows in a way you simply can't in stadiums, and honestly, I cannot wait. The show is designed to be the kind of theatrical and electrifying experience that brings Mayhem to life exactly how I envision it. The Mayhem Ball tour is officially coming your way. See you soon, monsters. And this just makes me think of like the Monster Ball tour, the whole theatrics of that show. That was arenas, and there was such like a storyline throughout all of it. She's always giving us theater and drama and, the whole nine with her shows, but this is really giving me thinking like the HBO special when she did MSG for the Monster Ball, like it's just giving me those vibes. So the city she's going to hit Vegas, Seattle, New York, Miami, Toronto, Chicago, London, Manchester, Stockholm, Milan, Barcelona, Berlin, Amsterdam, Antwerp, Lyon, and Paris. So she's doing 5 cities in the US. 5. I am terrified for these tickets. Truly. I am truly like, I don't know what's going to happen. She does have 3 New York shows, but it's the only like Northeast city that she has. The closest other city is either Miami or Chicago. That is a lot of land to cover between the 3 cities. And like, it's New York. People are going to travel for it just because it's New York and it's the Garden. And especially when there's no other cities really surrounding, we're kind of fucked, but I will go to war, battle for my life, Babylon, for these goddamn tickets. I am not missing the Mayhem Ball. So whatever I have to do to get into this show, I will do it. I am very excited. Tickets go on sale next week. It's all on Ticketmaster. You can go look all the dates. I don't have it all written down. I'm sorry. I'm not Ticketmaster, but it's all on their website. You can go check it out. But very excited to be seeing Lady Gaga this year. I'm manifesting, and I'm not even going to say that I'm trying to. I am seeing Lady Gaga this year. I cannot wait. Very exciting. I really was not expecting this. And I mean, neither was she. She wasn't planning to do it. And like I said, I do think this is kind of just like a teaser for what's to come next year, because I do fear like there is going to be a whole stadium tour or even just a longer tour, like hit more cities eventually. But it's just kind of like, keeping us fed for now while she prepares for whatever's coming next year. I assume. I could be totally wrong. That's just my instinct, but we will see, when it happens. And moving into our next and our final moment from the week that was just too pop to handle, Billboard had released their top 100 women artists of the 21st century. So it's ahead of their 2025 Women in Music celebration. They wanted to release a list of all the women who have dominated the Billboard charts over the first 25 years of the century. So this list is completely number driven. They're looking at stats, they're looking at album sales, positions. I don't know exactly what they're looking at, but they're looking at numbers. So this is like factual, data driven. And if you guys have been listening, I did the whole coverage of the best pop stars of the 21st century. We covered that every few weeks as they came out. That list was completely like writer and editor driven, where that was them kind of like, hey, this is who we feel is the top artist, or, you know, it made the cut for whoever the list was. This is now them looking at the data, looking at the numbers, and really just like putting it in. They could have put this into like a computer and been like, all right, give me the top 100 artists based on chart data over the last 25 years. And this is what it spit out. Now, I will say this is a little weird that they released this list not only so close to the 21st century list that they did, but like, especially looking at the backlash that they got after that list because a certain fandom wasn't happy that their fave was number 2 and not number 1. Definitely a little weird. And like, did we need another list after we just got that list? And like, yeah, this is just females, and like they tied it into like women in music and the whole thing. But I was like, this feels a little weird. That being said, we're going to just go through the top 10 and, you know, chit chat about them really quick. Coming in at number 10 was Alicia Keys. Number 9, Miley Cyrus. Number 8, we had Ariana Grande. 7 was Pink. Number 6 was Lady Gaga. Number 5, Katy Perry. Number 4, Adele. Number 3, Beyonce. Number 2, Rihanna. And number 1, Taylor. Now, the most interesting part about this to me is that the top 3 is still the same from the 21st, the best pop stars, and now this list just out of order. So it was Beyonce, Taylor, and then Rihanna for that list. And now this list is still Taylor, Rihanna, and Beyonce, just reorganized a little bit. So I thought that was cool to see that, like, not only are these 3 ladies dominating the charts literally with numbers, but also in an editorial and writer standpoint, they're still the 3 that everyone's looking at as like the top stars, male or female, in the music industry. So I thought that was really cool. And also, like, let's give Rihanna her flowers because she has not released an album in 10 years, 9 years now. Yeah, 9 years. And she's still not only pulling the impact like label from these writers, but her chart data is still putting her at number 2 of the best women pop stars or the best women artists of the 21st century. Like, that is so impressive. And if Rihanna was still releasing music, I do wonder like how her and Taylor would flip flop because Rihanna really does pull crazy numbers. So I am curious to see that. But again, I don't know if we needed this list, but I love a list. It's fun to look at. And, you know, I guess if they're going to make a list, at least these 3 women are dominating the music industry because that is what we like to see. And now, having said all that, it kind of perfectly segues us into the main topic of the show. So last week, it was announced that Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet became the 5th album in history to secure 4 number 1 singles on the Pop Airplay chart, which I always say, I'm like, yeah, chart positions don't really matter, but they are fun to look at. However, the Pop Airplay chart, it really kind of gives us an idea of like what the general public is loving and like what is being consumed by the masses. Because when you really boil it down, Stan Twitter and what's going on online is not the masses and the general public. And the Pop Airplay chart is what's getting played the most on the radio. So Bedchem became her 4th number 1 single on this chart, and joining Espresso, Please, 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 and Taste. This is also the first album to accomplish this since Taylor Swift's 1989 back in 2014. So the singles from that, she had 5, Taylor. She had Shake It Off, Blank Space, Style, Bad Blood featuring Kendrick Lamar, and Wildest Dreams. Also on this list is Katy Perry's Teenage Dream that had 6 singles on this chart: California Girls, Teenage Dream, Firework, E.T., Last Friday Night, and The One That Got Away. It also had Wide Awake that went number 1, but that was on the deluxe version of the album. So if you include the deluxe version, it had 7 on this chart, which is insane to think about. But just looking at the regular album, it was 6. Lady Gaga, The Fame, had 4. That was Just Dance, Poker Face, Love Game, and Paparazzi. And then the first album to do this was Justin Timberlake's Future Sex and Love Sounds, with 4 singles having Sexy Back, My Love, What Goes Around Comes Around, and Summer Love. And looking at these albums and these singles, these are songs that were truly inescapable. Like, you could go up to pretty much anybody on the street, at a bar, at a restaurant, wherever you are, and you could play one of these songs and they could tell you who sings it. They could probably give you the title, or they could hum it, sing a few bars of it. Like, these are songs that everybody knows or is familiar with because they were truly hitting the masses. And what else is really interesting to me is that all of these albums, besides Short and Sweet, existed in a world pre-streaming. 1989 like teeters on the line of when streaming became a bigger thing, but Taylor didn't put her music on streaming until 2015, and it was June of 2015, and this album came out in October 2014. So we had about like 9 to 10 months before this album was even available on streaming, which was becoming like the new wave of how to consume music. So these are really songs that all hit the mainstream organically and were truly inescapable. And then it got me thinking, when you look at this list, and I mean The Fame, Teenage Dream, 1989, these are albums that people classify as like their pop Bibles. These are albums that people look at as like the holy grail and the mecca of pop music. And it kind of got me thinking, like, what classifies an album as a pop Bible? What is it that makes it such a significant album in somebody's life or just in music, in culture, that really gives it that title and gives it that like everlasting success that makes it a pop Bible? And to me, a pop Bible is an album that really shakes up the culture and really leaves a lasting impression on pop music, on pop culture, and is almost like I said, inescapable, and is something that even people who aren't huge pop culture fans, just like the general public and the masses, they know it. They're familiar with it. They can recognize it. They can hum it. Like, they know the reference. That to me is what really classifies an album as a pop Bible. We get so caught up in like album sales and charts and data and this and that. And of course, sales are great and sales are important. It is their job. Like, to make money as an artist, you need to sell albums. So I'm not diminishing selling 1 million albums in 1 week. That is huge. But to me, if you sold 1 million albums in 1 week, but then 5 years later, your album isn't still relevant, or, you know, people aren't talking about it the way we're still talking about Teenage Dream or 1989 or The Fame, like that was great and you were like a blip in time, but it really does matter about like how long the ripple effect of your album in 5, in 10, in 15 years. Some of these artists on this list, it's going on 25, 30, 40 years. Like, those are the albums that are pop Bibles. It's not about sales. It's not about chart data. It's about what really shaped the culture and kind of made a movement through your music. So I posted on Twitter and on Instagram, and I asked you guys, what is your pop Bible? If somebody came to you and said, define pop music using one body of work, what album are you playing them? And I got so many responses, honestly, so many more than I was expecting. So thank you guys to everybody who wrote in. I'm going to go through the entire list of all the submissions that I got, and then I'm going to go through my albums that I consider to be pop Bibles, and we'll chat just a little bit about why I consider them to be pop Bibles and the impact that they left on society, on culture, and on pop music. So let's get into this list, kicking it off incredibly strong with the most amount of votes by far, Teenage Dream. I mean, grass is green, water is wet. Teenage Dream is a pop Bible. More on that album in a little bit. Also, while we're talking about Katy, we got a vote for Prism. When we're talking about Britney Spears, we got Blackout with 3 votes. Circus, Britney, and In the Zone all came in with 1. 1989 got 5 votes, and Reputation got 1. We also had a vote for Thriller by Michael Jackson. On Lady Gaga, we got The Fame Monster, Born This Way, Art Pop, and Chromatica, all with 1 submission. We had a vote for Survivor by Destiny's Child. We had a vote for The Duchess by Fergie. We had a vote for Christina by Christina Aguilera, as well as Stripped by Christina Aguilera. 4 by One Direction. We got 2 for Metamorphosis by Hilary Duff. We got 3 votes for Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen, 1 being the deluxe version specifically, but I'm just counting it as 3 votes for Emotion. We got a vote for Body Talk by Robin, a vote for Spice by the Spice Girls. We got 3 votes for Spice World by the Spice Girls. Somebody said Jagged Little Pill, Renaissance. We got 2 votes for Melodrama. We got a vote for Don't Forget, Here We Go Again, and Tell Me You Love Me, all by Demi Lovato. We also got a vote for Line Find and Trying Times by the Jonas Brothers. Somebody said Breakaway by Kelly Clarkson. We got 3 votes for Bangers by Miley Cyrus and a vote for Can't Be Tamed by Miley Cyrus. Somebody also said Autobiography by Ashley Simpson. We got a vote for American Life by Madonna, 1 vote for Brat, 1 vote for Loud by Rihanna. We got 2 votes for Thank You Next, 1 vote for Sweetener, 2 vote for Dangerous Woman, 1 vote for 21 by Adele, 1 vote for So Close to What by Tate McRae, and wrapping up the list with the newest addition to the 4 #1 singles on the Pop Airplay chart, we got 1 vote for Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. So once again, thank you to everybody who wrote in. I was not expecting all of these submissions, and I want to do this more where I include the listeners in the episode. So make sure you're following me on Twitter, on Instagram. So next time I do any of these submission boxes or, ask for your input, you can be part of the next episode, because I want to include you guys. I love listener feedback. So this was really fun to get your list and kind of get an idea of what you guys are thinking. And I think almost all of my albums that I consider pop Bibles, Were they all on here? Not all of them, but a majority of them were on my list of pop Bibles as well. So I think without further ado, let's hop into my pop Bibles. And now, of course, when I say a pop Bible, I'm talking about a specific body of work by a specific artist. I'm talking about one album that really shifted the culture, really shook things up. But there's 3 artists that when I was making this list, I was like, they don't have a pop Bible because these women are kind of just so impactful in their artistry, in all of their bodies of work, that pinning down one album as their pop Bible was very hard. And it is Madonna, Donna Summers, and Whitney Houston. I mean, Madonna, there's so many things in pop culture and pop music specifically that we wouldn't have today if she wasn't releasing albums like True Blue, Like a Prayer, Like a Virgin, like Confessions on a Dance Floor. Like, she really shaped so much of what pop music is today, and pinning down one album for her just felt completely incorrect. And I felt the exact same way about Donna Summers. I mean, when you think about artists who really were pioneers in her space. I mean, dance music, electronic music, club music. Like, there's so many things that Donna Summers did with her music that is still impacting music today. I mean, you could put on I Feel Love at a club and it sounds like a song that literally came out last week, and it was released in 1977, I believe it was. Like, these are just artists who are so timeless that pinning them down to one album felt so incorrect. And I mean, on the topic of Donna Summers, like, how many people have sampled Toot Toot, Hey, Beep Beep? Like, that is just an artist that is so timeless and so impactful that I couldn't just be like, oh, this one album really is what Donna Summers is all about, because it's all what Donna Summers is all about. And I feel the exact same way about Whitney Houston. I mean, just looking at the Bodyguard soundtrack alone, she has 7 songs. It's 6 or 7, I forget, but she has 6 or 7 songs on that soundtrack alone. And it is the best-selling movie soundtrack of all time, even to date. That is insane. And then looking at her albums, I mean, Whitney Houston, having 2 self-titled albums, come on. And just like, there's no denying the impact that Whitney Houston has had on pop music and just completely like took over a nation with her voice. Like, these are artists that are timeless. I mean, It's Not Right, But It's Okay, I Will Always Love You, I Want to Dance with Somebody, just to name like the singles. Like, these are all artists, looking at Donna Summers, Madonna, Whitney, like, these are artists that truly to date have been so impactful through their entire career that to nail them down to just one project, it just felt incorrect. And now, all of that being said, let's hop into the albums that I consider to be pop Bibles, kicking it off incredibly strong with Blackout by Britney Spears. Now, when you look at 2007 in the lens of Britney Spears, it was crazy. She was going through a divorce. She was fighting a custody battle for her kids. She shaved her head. She had that crazy comeback performance at the VMAs that she got completely ripped apart and ridiculed for. And it just was like, you wouldn't look at 2007 as like a big, crazy year for Britney Spears. And all of that happened to her, and she still put out an album that really left such a lasting impact on what was to come into 2010s in music, but also like what is being released today. I mean, Charli XCX literally said she was listening to Blackout while she was writing Brat. So to say that this album hasn't had a lasting impact on pop music, it's just not true at all. It was a lot of people's first introduction to this like electro pop, kind of like pushing the envelope on mainstream pop music. And it really did impact what was to come in the 2010s with pop music. And I mean, just looking at the track list, Give Me More, Piece of Me, Radar, Break the Ice. These were songs that didn't sound like what everybody else was putting out, but it really did leave like a lasting ripple effect on what pop music was going to become and what we're still hearing today in the mainstream. And Britney Spears, I mean, she's an artist that since her debut, I mean, Baby One More Time, like, she was putting out these albums that were really shaking up the culture from day one. And there's no denying that she's had an impact on pop music up until today. I mean, look at Addison Rae. It is literally a Britney Spears biopic in real life. However, I do think Blackout specifically really shaped what was coming in the new wave of pop music entering the 2010s. And that is why that is the album that I selected on my Pop Bible list. Moving on to the next album on my list is another album that was really kind of pushing the envelope when it comes to what we were hearing in the mainstream and kind of going against the grain. It is the Fame Monster by Lady Gaga. Now, I can be realistic, and I do know that had the Fame not been such a big moment with Paparazzi, Love Game, like, you know, with the big hits from the Fame Monster might not have been as impactful and as big as it was, or as such of a moment to me. But like when you look at the tracks on the Fame Monster specifically, Bad Romance, Alejandro, Telephone featuring Beyonce, like these are moments in pop culture that truly are like engraved in my brain. And you could show anybody, or you could play rather anybody, any of those 3 songs that I just mentioned, and they instantly know them. They could hum it, they could sing it. Like this album really was such like a shift. I hate to keep saying these are shifts in pop culture, but that is what I'm saying defines a pop Bible. Like the Fame and the Fame Monster being such a shift in pop culture really are what's shaping music still to this day. And like, it kind of really shifted Gaga from the Fame being this like, there was a mix of like, you know, this like electro pop and these like different sounds into this like darker sound with the Fame Monster that then led to Born This Way and kind of led into art pop, which now we're getting Mayhem. Like we're really seeing the lasting effects of the sounds of this album. And I think to consider the Fame or the Fame Monster not as a pop Bible is it is incorrect. Categorically. The next album on my list is Beyoncé by Beyoncé. Now, I don't know if people sonically would consider this Beyoncé's pop Bible, but when you think about the lasting impact that this album has had, I mean, this album was literally dropped at midnight on iTunes without any press, any promo, no lead singles, there was no leaks, there was no talks about this album, and it became the fastest selling album in the history of the iTunes store within 3 days of its release. It also became so successful that it literally shifted the release date for albums from Tuesdays to Fridays. To be able to completely shift and change the date that albums are being released it's an undeniable impact on pop culture. The success of this unpromoted and secret album that Beyoncé was working on was so impactful that it completely changed the way artists would go on to release music. To this date, we are still releasing albums on Fridays 12 years later because of Beyonce. I mean, there's no denying that everybody knows Drunken Love. You could not go into a TJ Maxx or a Marshalls without seeing I Woke Up Like This on a t-shirt, on a mug. It was everywhere. Like, it definitely did make it into the masses in a sense. Maybe not as mainstream as some of these other albums did, but the way that this album really infiltrated the music industry is an undeniable impact. And there's just no denying to me that this is considered a pop Bible. Also, the fact that she released an entire visual album, releasing a music video for every single song, that's not something that anybody really does, even to this date. Like, it's not a common thing. And the fact that she did this with an album that was not being promoted, there was no press around it, it was a complete surprise drop. I mean, come on. There's no denying that this is a pop Bible. In my house, at least, and it should be in yours as well. Staying on the topic of Beyonce, this is the only artist that I do have 2 on here, which, I mean, Beyonce is my favorite artist of all time, so no surprise there. But I can't say pop Bible without thinking B-Day. I have been having a renaissance with this album lately. Like, I've been listening to it a lot more. However, when you look at the track list, it is just hit after hit after hit. Deja Vu, Get Me Bodied, Upgrade You, Ring the Alarm, Freakum Dressed, Irreplaceable. These are all songs that people outside of pop music fanatics and the Beehive, everybody knows these songs. This album really hit the masses, and all of these singles, everybody knows them, or at least like knows the term Freakum Dressed. They know the melodies, they know these songs. Like, this is an album that you could put on anywhere and everybody will know at least half of the album. Guaranteed. Like, this is an album that really made it out of the Beehive and into the masses. And I think that's exactly, in my mind, what classifies a pop Bible. Moving on to our next album now, I think this truly is classified as the pop Bible. I mean, like I said earlier, it was my most voted for and most mentioned album when I asked you guys what your pop Bible is. It is Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. I mean, just listing off the singles again: California Girls, Teenage Dream, Firework, E.T., Last Friday Night, The One That Got Away, Wide Awake. This album was everywhere. You could not escape it. Not only is it included in the 4+ number ones on the Pop Airwave chart, I mean, this is only the second album in history, only up there with Michael Jackson's Bad, to have 5 singles go number 1 in history. Also, the only album by a female artist to get this accomplishment. To say this album isn't a pop Bible is, again, categorically false. It had such an impact on pop culture and pop music. And to this day, these are some of the most recognizable songs really ever. Like, everybody knows Firework. Everybody knows Teenage Dream. Everybody knows California Girls. Like, these were songs you could not escape. And I mean, it's a fucking fantastic album. Everybody knows these songs. Everybody recognizes the album cover. You could show anybody that video of Katy Perry with the whipped cream coming out of her boobs, and they know what it's from, what it is. Like, this album is undeniably, I would say, the pop Bible. Like, there's just, this album, even when it first came out, like, I remember like buying this album at Best Buy and being so floored at the artistry within the physical album. If you remember, and maybe I'm aging myself, but this CD, when you opened it, it literally smelled like cotton candy. Like, Katy Perry made this album such an experience from the second that you had it in your hand to the second you finished the album. It is just such a well-rounded, thought-out project. And there's no list of pop Bibles without Teenage Dream, at least in the top 3. This album is just unbelievable perfection. Moving on to our next album, we have Bangers by Miley Cyrus. And now, this was truly such a reset for Miley and such a shakeup in the world because she was the biggest child star. I mean, Hannah Montana was everywhere. And Hannah Montana in and of herself is kind of a pop Bible, not to put her on levels with like Whitney Houston and Madonna, but she had that impact where like she really created such an avenue for these child stars, especially on Disney Channel. And this was really Miley's big break away from that image. I mean, we obviously had Can't Be Tamed, and like that was kind of her first like dip into kind of escaping from the Disney image, but that album was still released under a Disney record label, so she couldn't go that crazy. This album, she went fucking crazy. I mean, we all remember where we were when she shaved her head. That image of the hairdresser holding the bun, cutting it off, and then she just had that platinum blonde little bob, and then it just got shorter and shorter and shorter as time went on. And then just looking at the album and like the singles from it, We Can't Stop, it was like that coming out as the lead single with this party anthem was like such a crazy moment for a child star to be releasing it. It was like kind of a new sound for Miley. It was a little more, less like bubblegum poppy and a little more playing with like an R&B, not R&B, but like a little, it had more of like an edge to it than her previous music. And then going into just like Wrecking Ball as a second single and like thinking about that music video, that's another moment where like I remember where I was when the Wrecking Ball music video premiered because it felt like the entire world stopped and everybody was going insane over Miley Cyrus licking that sledgehammer. I mean, the video ended up holding the record for the most views in 24 hours with 19.3 million views. Like, this music video got released and people went bananas over it. The tour was crazy. Like, everything about this era was just such a shift for not just Miley, but for what it meant for a child star to break out of the mold and really like make a new name and image for themselves. Another album that I'm like, this is an album and an era that really defined pop culture in a way of like breaking out of a mold and creating a new image for yourself. Next up, an album that, again, got tons of votes and is literally in this list that Billboard has put out, 1989 by Taylor Swift. I mean, this was Taylor's first real full dive into pop music after kind of coming into the scene as like a country star. And of course, she toyed with pop music a little bit on Red, and like she had like that country pop sound. But even Red is categorized as like a folk pop album. This was her first full dive into pop music, and it was a really big risk for her. Like, it was really a change from what she was doing before into something completely new. And not just the sound and all of that. She really did something so smart with this album, with introducing the secret sessions. It really created a new expectation and a new way of artists interacting with their fans. I mean, it was literally parodied on Scream Queens. Like, it became such a coveted thing to be somebody who went to a secret session, and it was their dream and their goal, and people were creating these crazy fan Tumblrs and writing these essays and these Twitter accounts to just try to get invited to these secret sessions. And it really added a whole new level to stan culture. She was also so smart in this era because she was just surrounded by every celebrity ever. Like, she was truly this was like peak girl gang. I mean, Carly Kloss, Gigi Hadid, Selena Gomez, Haley Steinfeld, Lorde, Martha Hunt, Emma Stone, Cara Delevingne, Blake Lively. Like, she was truly just surrounded by celebrities everywhere she went. And there was a true friendship. It wasn't like she was like clout chasing with these people. Like, you could tell that these people were spending time together as real friends. And she was giving us this inside look at her life with these other A-listers who, like, we didn't really get to see the behind the scenes. You know, she would be posting these selfies with them, or we would get the Polaroids from her birthday parties, and like Beyonce was there and Jay-Z was there. And she was really kind of diving into a whole nother level of being famous with this era. It really kind of pushed the needle and like brought her to this next level of her stardom. And I mean, even looking at the 1989 World Tour and the special guests that she brought out, whether it was for like the style walk, which became a thing every night, who's going to come out and strut down the runway with Taylor for style. And she was getting like the biggest names in Hollywood. Then not only that, she had the biggest special guests. And of course, there were like the expected ones, Selena Gomez, Lorde, you know, the expected people. But then she also had like Lisa Kudrow come out and sing Smelly Cat, which, I mean, she made Friends her entire brand, and then brought Phoebe Buffay out on stage to sing it with her. She had Mary J. Blige coming out, and like there were just all of these artists who wanted to work with Taylor and wanted to be on that stage with her, because it was such a huge moment, not just in her career, but in pop culture. And I mean, if you guys know, if you've been listening for a while, you know that 1989 and Speak Now are my two favorite Taylor Swift albums. But when you search Pop Bible on YouTube, it is all reactions to 1989 by Taylor Swift. Like this, if it wasn't for Teenage Dream, 1989 is literally like a hair underneath that album for being, to me, classified as the Pop Bible. This is just a masterclass in a, not just a pop album, but a pop era. And moving on to another album that just is like a masterclass in an era, Thank You Next by Ariana Grande. You want to talk about a pop culture moment? I mean, similar to Miley with Wrecking Ball, the Thank You Next music video is a moment where I feel like everybody remembers where they were when that music video premiered. It was such a huge moment. I mean, all eyes were on Ariana Grande just in general. She had just called off her engagement with Pete Davidson. Mac Miller had just passed away. She had just released Sweetener less than a year before, and like that album already had a lot of hype because she had the terrorist attack, and this was like the follow-up album after that. Like, all eyes were already on Ariana Grande, and then all of this stuff just kept happening to her, and the way that she played it with this album was so geniusly done. And again, the Thank You Next music video didn't just exist online. It wasn't just like a stan culture thing. Everybody in the world, I feel like, was waiting for that music video. The movie callbacks, the rebirth of Jennifer Coolidge, like the cameos in it. It was Kris Jenner was in the music video. Like, it was such a huge moment for pop culture. And I mean, not just the Thank You Next music video, even looking at Seven Rings, I mean, that song went huge. It was number one. People were like either loving it or hating it. They were like seething because they were like, how is this girl going to come on this song and talk about how rich she is? Like, how out of touch. And then the rest of the world was living for it. Like, it was such a moment. And then even when the track list got released and Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored was on there, everybody was like, what is this about? And then she sampled In Sync, and then she brought them out at Coachella. Like, the Thank You Next album and that era really was such a staple in that time in pop culture. And to me, at least, I consider this Ariana Grande's Pop Bible, and it had to be on my list of Pop Bibles because it really was such a moment for me when it came out. Like, Thank You Next was everything to me when it came out. And now, of course, you have to be realistic when it comes to Pop Bibles, but there are some albums that I do consider honorable mentions that aren't quite Pop Bible status. Like, I don't know if they necessarily had the lasting impressions or anything like that, and they might down the road, but I have a list of some honorable mentions. Number one, if you know me, I mean, if you're watching the video, you can literally see it right here. Melodrama by Lorde. I mean, this album changed everything for me. This is such an important album to me, and it has a cult following, which is why, like, it's not not a pop Bible. I mean, I think I got 2 or 3 votes in this as far as like people writing it in. So clearly other people have this appreciation for this album, but it was such like a highly anticipated album from Lorde. She released Pure Heroine and it was such a moment. And like, they were like, who is this girl? She's so in her own kind of lane. She's a little weird and she dances weird. And then she disappeared for 4 years and everybody was just waiting for this album. And then Melodrama comes out and she releases Greenlight as the lead single, which was, again, this sound that like wasn't really what we were hearing in the mainstream. So she was kind of really pushing the limit with her sound. And I mean, even if you go back and listen to the Love Club EP or Pure Heroine, she really does have her own unique sound. But this album it's a perfect album through and through. I don't know if I consider it pop Bible. And as somebody who literally got the name of this album tattooed on my ankle at midnight when the album dropped, I can even say, I'm not sure if I classify it as a pop Bible to everybody, but it is to me. And you know what? When it's my podcast, that's all that counts. The second honorable mention I have is Renaissance. I mean, the artistry that we saw on this album was truly to a whole new level. And looking at the impact that this album had on the culture, I mean, you couldn't walk into a clothing store without seeing silver everything, which was a direct correlation of Beyonce's album being released. I mean, silver was the entire theme. The album cover, she has the diamonds and the silver. Like, it was such a moment in that sense. I didn't want to put 3 Beyonce albums as pop Bibles because I didn't want to play too much of a favorite. And I did think that Beyonce and B-Day kind of had that longer lasting impression. Granted, Renaissance has only been out for 3 years now, 2 years, 3 years. So I do think down the road it will get classified as that. However, in this situation, I did put it as an honorable mention again, because I didn't want to play favorites too hard, but come to me in 3, 4, 5 years, because this album will still be having replay the way that Madonna, Whitney, Donna Summer. I mean, Donna Summers is sampled on this album. What else do I have to say? The next one I have is Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. This one just has hit after hit after hit. It really is like another album that if you were to play any of the singles from this album, people know it. Dua Lipa is so radio friendly. I mean, Don't Start Now, Physical, Levitating, Hallucinate, even listening to like Break My Heart, like the album tracks, like it's just such a great pop album. And I do think a lot of people outside, or I know, well, a lot of people, like the general public does know this album. I just don't know that they necessarily like tie it back to this album or Dua Lipa. They're like, oh, I know that song, but I don't know that it had the full impact that some of the other albums I've talked about have had. However, I can't talk about perfect pop albums and not mention Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. I also have to mention The Duchess by Fergie. And now you guys might be like, what the fuck are you saying? When you look at the singles from this album and you think about the era where this album was released, Clumsy, Big Girls Don't Cry, Fergalicious, London Bridge, Glamorous, these songs were everywhere. You could not walk into a mall, to a grocery store, put on the radio. Any commercial was using Fergie. Like, she really was everywhere at the moment. And that's why it's an honorable mention. I'm not sure that we're still feeling the lasting impacts of the album today, but at that time, this album, it's undeniable how mainstream these songs from this album. I mean, to have these 6 songs become such household songs and names, you could put these songs on anywhere and people are going to know them. It had to have an honorable mention. And then the final one, this one also got 3 votes when it was written in, and it is Emotion by Carly Rae Jepsen. All I'm going to say, any album that opens with a track as fantastic as Runaway With Me, it's an honorable mention. It's on its way to be a pop Bible. I mean, I hear that and I could kick through a wall. The entire album is truly a masterclass in pop music. I'm not sure that it has the mainstream effects and impact as any of these other albums. I mean, let's be real, it doesn't. Like, you can't put that album on and people are going to know it outside of Stan Twitter, which is why it's an honorable mention and not a pop Bible. But I mean, talk about a fantastic album. just incredible, and I needed to give it its flowers where flowers are due. And that wraps up our main segment of the show, going through all of these pop Bibles. This was so much fun. I really loved having the listener interaction part of this, and I want to do this a lot more. So make sure you're following me on Twitter, on Instagram, so next time I do any of this, you guys can write in and send me anything I'm asking for. Also, if you didn't get a chance to write in and tell me what your pop Bible is, let me know in the comments, shoot me a DM, comment on Spotify, let me know what your pop Bible is, and let's chat about, maybe there's an album that I didn't mention or an artist that you think needed to be mentioned in this conversation. Music is subjective. Everybody has different views on what has impacts on music in different ways. So I would love to hear from you guys if you didn't get to write in, or if you did get to write in and you're like, oh my God, how did I miss this album? Or I think this should be, let me know. Let's chat. I love this little community that we're building. So let's keep this up and let's keep the conversation going. God, I've been talking for a while. This is a long one, but again, I asked you guys if you guys like long episodes and everybody said yes. So you guys asked for it. Lucky for you guys, I thought Drag Race was incredibly boring this week. It was like a okay challenge. It could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot worse. It kind of was just like a filler episode to me. I don't know. I didn't love it. I did think Lexi Love knocked it out of the park. So I'm very happy to see that she won and to see Anya getting her 4th win. Going through the runway really quick, it was ugliest dress ever. I think Susie too knocked it out of the park. This dress was fucking hideous, and that was the point. She understood the assignment. I loved it. I thought it was as hideous as it was exactly what the judges wanted to see. Jules' dress was not ugly to me. I get like being the dorky 80s prom girl is like maybe like not traditionally beautiful, but I didn't think the dress was ugly. I don't know. I thought it was a little, it wasn't not ugly, but it could have been uglier, It wasn't the ugliest dress ever. Anya Nerve, I mean, this was definitely ugly. She was dressed as a turkey. Not much more to say to that. I was like, Anya, what the fuck are we doing? But you know what? When it says ugliest dress ever and you look at a turkey, those motherfuckers are ugly. So I guess it made sense. Lexi Love, this was my favorite of the entire runway. It was just like silly, stupid, kind of campy. And it was so ugly that it was almost cute. Like all the tutus, like, I don't know. This was really fun. I thought it really spoke to Lexi's drag style of like the colorful energy that she brings. I really love this. It was my favorite on the runway. This was a knockout week for Lexi Love. Next up, we had Sam Starr, who just truly refuses to be ugly. And you know what? Sure, stick to your guns. Be your polished pageant girl. This garment was stunning. And so many girls would kill to wear an outfit that looked this good. And it was supposed to be ugliest dress ever. This was not ugly. It was just like gory and scary. But again, Sam Starr isn't coming out on that runway not looking gorgeous. So I'm not surprised. Wasn't on theme, but she did look fabulous. So I'll give her that. And then the final one was Lana Gervais. This is how you do a Drag Race reference. Wearing Candy's pocket dress from season 13 was equal parts genius and equal parts shady. Because to take her dress, for her to get the prompt of ugliest dress ever and be like, hey, Candy, can I borrow your pocket dress? Is so fucking funny to me. But I mean, the dress is hideous. So it really did stick to the theme. However, unfortunately, the dress wasn't enough to make up for her performance in the competition this week. And the bottom two are Sam and Lana. Like I said, Lexi and Anya win. Actually, I was very happy to see that Lexi and Anya both got the win because we don't really see pairs winning together. Usually they compete together, but they're judged separately. So to see the two girls win this together, that's a big deal. Like this doesn't happen often. And I love to see Anya Nerve getting a 4th win. And you guys know Lexi Love is my second runner-up. Or was. I don't know if she still is my second runner-up. Anya Nerve is my winner, and then I'm kind of fine with wherever the rest of the girls fall from there. But love to see the two of them win, and I just love the two of them so much, so I'm happy to see them having their moment together. And as I said, Lana Gervais is in the bottom two, along with Sam Starr. They were in the challenge together, so the two people who won were together. The two people in the bottom are going to lip sync together. They lip sync to "Illusion" by Dua Lipa, which I love this song. Loved this lip sync. I thought it was really, really good. And we haven't seen Sam lip sync yet, so I was excited to see what she has. The double death drop was so fun. Like this was a really good lip sync. However, somebody has to go home, and I fear it was time for Lana to go. As much as I loved her and was really excited to see her on this season, I think she got very far, and she didn't always have the best looks or the best performances. She did kind of skate by as safe or just kind of kicking these girls' asses in the lip sync. I loved her. You guys, if you go back to the cast announcement, I was so excited to see her on this season. However, I think she had a good run. I think she got much further than a lot of people thought she was going to. And I think she had a fabulous Drag Race package. So Lana goes home and we have a top 5. We are really getting down. It ends on April 18th. So we have 4 more weeks left. 5 more weeks left. 4 or 5 more weeks left of this season. We are getting down to the end, which is crazy. And that wraps up our TV recap. Moving into the final segment of the show, you guys know the drill. We end every single episode with my yes and my mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving and my mess being something I am not loving. We always start things on a high note, and my yes this week should come to no surprise to anybody. My yes is Miley Cyrus's Something Beautiful album trailer. Holy shit. So we finally have a release date. It's coming out May 30th. We are getting the album in May and the film in June. And the trailer that she dropped for this pop opera visual album, whatever extravaganza you want to call it, looks unbelievable. These archival couture looks, the visuals, there's like this dark avant-garde kind of grungy, like disco-y, poppy, I don't even know what to call it. I am eating up every single thing she is serving for this album. I cannot wait to make Something Beautiful my entire personality trait. Miley Cyrus is coming to step on our necks so incredibly hard, and it is about damn time. I am so beyond thrilled for this album. I cannot wait to get these songs, to get the album. I hope there's not too much of a delay between the album and the movie to come out. I hope it's like a quick turnaround. I mean, the album does come out on the last day of May and the film comes out in June. So I'm assuming it's like probably within a week or so, I would hope. It'll be less than a month at least, which is good enough for me. I am so excited. This trailer, these visuals, all of this stuff coming out about this album just looks so fabulous. And I am so ready for Miley Cyrus world domination in 2025. Oh my God, I cannot wait. Maybe we have a pop Bible on our hands. Maybe a pop Bible is on the horizon. You never know until it's here. So we will see. And shifting gears over to my mess. Now, this is somebody who I believe has been a mess before for other reasons, or I've definitely talked in a negative light about this artist just because I find them really annoying. But in what world does JoJo Siwa think anybody wants to pay $900 to help build and set up the stage for her upcoming tour? Yes, you heard that correct. So JoJo Siwa is going on tour and she has a VIP option called the Dream Guest option, which is priced at over $900 per fan, which is already an issue to begin with. And the package includes an exclusive invitation to JoJo's live show setup with the ability to help her put together the show and help with the song selection for that night. She said that you're actually going to get to come in during load in for the show and you're going to get to kind of help us set it up and make sure things are right and test out the drum with me or the DJ booth with me. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool, I guess, to see like the behind the scenes, but like, to what extent are they helping set up? Because if I'm paying $900 and you're making me like help with your lighting and your mic checks, that is not my job. I am not here to be your tour producer and to make sure, you know, your lights are working and your mic is working. Pay somebody for that. Why are you paying $900 to go watch JoJo Siwa build her stage and probably pick like one of 2 songs for the night? Also, does JoJo Siwa have fans that are willing to pay $900 for anything related to her? This whole thing just feels very bizarre to me and very crazy. And I was just like, who do you think you are, Miss Siwa? What the fuck? I can't. Everything I learned about JoJo Siwa is truly against my will. And that is why it is usually categorized in the mess section of this show, because I am just never seeking any content surrounding Miss JoJo Siwa. If you do yourself, that is your prerogative. No judgment. Just not for me. Just like Selena Gomez's new album. Not my cup of tea, but if it's yours, sip on it. And with that, we have made it to the end of the episode. Thank you to everybody who wrote in and sent me their pop Bibles. I loved reading your responses. If you're listening to us as a podcast and you like what you heard, make sure you leave me a 5-star rating, leave me a review. Like I said, it would be the best 30th birthday present anybody could give me. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment down below. If you would like some extra pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle between each episode, head over to twopoptohandle.substack.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at twopoptohandle. You can follow me on my personals at Andrew Nucatola. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.